Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to our special call meeting. Number 3, awards and recognition.
All right, I would really like to. Am I on?
There we go. There we go. All right, I'd love to start off this evening with recognition of some teachers here in our district. 2 outstanding teachers that I knew professionally in another county in different ways. So we're going to start with Stamping Ground Elementary School, and we're going to start with Mrs. Jennifer Race. Jennifer Race was nominated by her peers at Stamping Ground because they recognize how deeply she cares for her students. They appreciate her willingness to help and support others and are thankful that she is a part of their team. Ms. Race always thinks about the overall good of her school, and it's not surprising to see her stop what she's doing to counsel and encourage students who may be going through trauma at home. She spends extra time with students during lunch and after school to foster deeper relationships with those who need it most. So we would like to, at this time, we commend your hard work and dedication, and we'd like for you to come up and join us so we can recognize Miss Jennifer Race.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right, and this other lady I also know from experience. We work together in another county. And from Northern Elementary School, we have Mrs. Dana Young. Mrs. Dana Young, yes, give it up for Miss Dana Young. Comments from those that shared about Mrs. Young. She spends hours planning, seeks input constantly, and develops engaging math lessons every day. Not only does she develop and deliver excellent lessons, she also shares her knowledge, resources, and strategies with others through professional learning opportunities. This veteran teacher has moved from 4th grade to 5th grade this year, and her dedication to the success of her new team and students is remarkable, and she's still available to answer questions and support her 4th grade team colleagues. Her colleagues at Northern consider themselves blessed to work with her, and we are blessed to have her, Miss Dana Young.
Ready to go?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh my goodness. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our... There we go. Yeah, that concludes our awards and recognition.
Thank you so much. We really enjoy having recognition and getting to hear about our teachers, our great teachers in the school. So thank you for bringing that to us, Billy. Number 4, agenda approval. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 is public comment. I'd like to add, as we get started, just as we do each time with our public comment, we are going to limit the conversation, or the public comment, I should say, to 5 minutes. We will time it. We do ask that you keep it underneath the 5, just so that we can get other folks in talking, and we can keep, of course, moving in, keeping our meeting moving on, for stuttering through that. But we do appreciate folks coming and sharing their opinions with us. First person, I believe, is it Kathy Young?
Younger, yeah.
Younger, okay. You're welcome to come up and have a seat. Hello.
Hello. It's me again, y'all seen me before.
Okay. Good to see you.
So, I have two grandsons at Scott County High School, and I'm just here to ask again for you to make masks optional, to give parents the choice whether they want their children to wear masks or not. I have a few little thoughts I wanted to bring up. One thing I want you to consider is, you know, what the teachers are dealing with all day long. Put your mask up. Your mask is not right. Put your mask up. They're losing teaching time. And I want to give you a crazy example. My grandson was as close to, from me to Stephanie Powers over there, to the door, exiting the building last Friday. And he pulled his mask down, and he was chased to my van by a teacher, and we couldn't leave until I gave him my grandson's name. That's what's happening. And I thought that was just a little over the top. Okay? The other thing is, this is a quote from one of my grandsons. He says, this might be a remedy. He said, well, why don't we just all stay in the lunchroom all day? Because evidently the lunchroom's COVID-free. Nobody wears a mask. Everybody's sitting beside each other. They don't have hand sanitizer. They're touching things. Then they go back to the classroom. Put your mask on. Put your mask on. Get your mask up. I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, and I'm not asking you to make them wear their mask and eat, okay? Let's see. All right, so I guess what I don't understand is we've been here, a lot of us have been here on this to make it optional. You know, I don't care if people want to wear a mask all the time. I don't care if people want to wear a mask in the car by themselves, okay? But I think it should be our option. It's our right, okay? They're our children. You know, if people are afraid, let them wear the mask. I'm 67 years old, and I'm not afraid, okay? And the other thing is yeah, the kids wear the mask at school, but when they go out everywhere else, they're not wearing the mask. When they're going to a school function or something, there's nobody there telling them to wear the mask. I mean, you know, they're pulling them down. And for instance, at the high school, you know, my boys have told me that when they're waiting to go to school, to go to class, the boys will be sitting up away from everybody and have their masks down, and they get yelled at. The girls are sitting down here, and they don't have any mask on at all, and nothing's said to them. I'm just saying, it's not across board. It's just kind of crazy. So the other thing is, you know, I don't understand what we're waiting for. Not everybody will get vaccinated. There's always going to be a variant. There's always going to be something. So I guess, you know, I want to know, are we going to make these kids wear a mask? My grandsons are freshmen in high school. Are they going to be graduating with a mask on? You know, I don't understand. That's basically, I'm just pleading to you because I don't get it. You know, Rand Paul made a statement. He said, kids, school-age kids, has just as much chance of dying from COVID as they do getting struck by lightning. 1 in a million, and that was a Stanford study. Do we make our kids, every time they go outside, carry a lightning rod? Okay, let me make sure I didn't miss nothing. Okay. All right, the other thing is, yeah, I guess I just want to know what the magic is. What's the magic number? What's the magic thing? Because to be honest with you, I'm not seeing anything in sight. And I guess the other thing is I want to ask, I asked this before, you know, are you all doing your own research? I know the health department's telling y'all what to do, And frankly, I don't understand that. Because we didn't, as Scott County citizens, I didn't elect the health department. I elected you all. So I'm just here to plead with you to, after when I made these points, like I said, their hands, okay? What's it say? If their hands aren't sanitized, they stick their hand up to wipe their nose or whatever, then they touch something. So I'm just asking you to make it optional and give people a choice. It's our right. It's our constitutional right. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. I would like to add in at this point, after a couple of things that you did mention, we do have on our agenda for the board to discuss the mass this evening. So I do want you to know we will be discussing it if you weren't already aware of that, and that will be the next agenda item, just so that you're aware. Next person is Courtney Casefold.
How are you all?
Hi there, how are
See
you?
all again.
Thank you for coming.
So, as you know, my name is Courtney Casefold, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Scott County Education Association about the discussion topic of masks in our schools. We realize there could soon be action taken to release the current mask mandate in Scott County schools. As educators, our highest priority is to protect high-quality in-person instruction and services. This is why we are willing to continue working in masks. Throughout the pandemic, it has been the position of Scott County schools that masks are our best tool to preserve in-person instruction, and we couldn't agree more. The CDC continues to recommend wearing a mask in public indoor settings and in areas of substantial or high community transmission. Regardless of vaccination status, since the last board meeting, the COVID incident rate here in Scott County has ranged from 52 to 81 per 100,000. Remember that just 25 per 100,000 is considered a dangerous level of community spread by our public health department. At this time, the percentage of citizens vaccinated is not high enough to contain rampant transmission without the aid of masks and social distancing, especially in our community's largest daily gatherings, our public schools. As you are aware, there is a shortage of available masks for our students that find themselves in need of one during the school day. To address this need, the Scott County Education Association has donated 10,000 masks that have already been distributed to our school nurses. It is our highest priority to provide uninterrupted in-person instruction and services to our students. And masks, along with the Test to Stay program, are critical to sustaining in-person instruction during a pandemic. We ask that the board be conservative when it comes to decisions that could jeopardize in-person instruction in Scott County. 2 Central Kentucky districts, Jessamine and Bourbon, went mask optional earlier this fall and have since returned to mandatory masking. Other districts have had to resort to shutting down. With this data in mind and the new prospect of the Omicron variant being not only more transmissible than Delta but also vaccine resistant, we ask that you wait to act on this issue until we've returned from winter break and that any surge from holiday gatherings is known and the incident rate reported by WEDCO remains below 25 for at least 2 weeks. The Scott County Education Association asks that the board consider current public health data provided by WEDCO for Scott County and schools and our school districts in communities of comparable size and similar school attendance. Additionally, Scott County Education Association asks that the board cite specifically the data markers considered during deliberation on the masking issue. Our community, parents, students, and staff deserve this level of transparency on such an important decision. We thank you all for your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anthony Young. Hello.
Good evening, how are y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. I'm also here to ask the school board to move to Scott County schools to a mask optional model shortly after the holiday break. I know you guys have been acting in good faith and everything like that and truly believe that the decision to keep the children in mask is helping the community. But I believe that at this time, it's time to let the parents make those health decisions for their own children. I'm not going to argue any scientific data or anything like that at this time. But what I will argue is that the wearing of masks by our children really hasn't had a huge effect on the community as a whole. As you look around, we haven't really stopped or slowed anything. You know, I've been told that you guys are looking at recommendations from the CDC and the health department and things of that nature about masks, and that, you know, I would say that the numbers have gone up, they've gone down regardless. You know, we've been in masks this whole time, and it hasn't really changed anything. The virus has done what it wants to regardless. You know, even the CDC said that the required mask use among you know, students who were mask optional and mask mandatory wasn't significant at that time, right? You know, with this being said, I'm curious as well, what other sources of data are you all looking at, you know, to just make those decisions? You know, one source of data I don't think has had enough input is the parents. You know, as I travel around the state and our local community, I see less and less people wearing masks everywhere I go. I went to the dentist the other day, hardly anybody was wearing a mask. My family went to a middle school basketball game here the other day where masks were mandatory, but once you got in, it was kind of like a free-for-all. Nobody was saying, hey, you need to put your mask on or anything like that. And I'm not advocating for that. I think it should be optional. My kid's bus driver doesn't even wear a mask, but yet she asked all of our students to put masks on. It's kind of hypocritical if you ask me. You know, not to point this out, but there was a lady back here a few minutes ago. She was trying to introduce herself to somebody. He didn't recognize her. She took her mask off for a few seconds to speak to him. So that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. So at this point, you know, everyone who has had the opportunity and wants it can have the vaccine. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot at this point. So I believe at this time it's time to move to a mask optional policy and let the parents choose. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I am trying to read this last name, so I apologize.
Mr. Wickham. Mr. Wickham.
Mr. Wickham? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem at all. It's my handwriting, I'm sure. Okay, boy, they get bus drivers on hard. Anyway, hey, I just want to thank the board and Billy Parker for taking care of us on the pay increase. It is appreciated. It has made a difference in people's attitude, and I just want to come forward and let you all know we appreciate that. It does make a difference. It is had a good impact, and we appreciate you all. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Mr. Wickham.
We appreciate that. Jim Sloan? Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here as well to request that they make the mask option for children. And it seems like even in here, we're sitting in a room that the ventilation just kicked on literally 10 minutes ago, seats 6 inches apart. Do you guys really think this is doing it? And I guess like it's a serious question. I'd like somebody to answer that. If we really think this is doing it, you know, literally 6 inches between the chairs, people hugging, Billy Parker shaking hands with the people that we gave awards for doing pretty much their job. When I was growing up, all teachers did that. Now we'd have the KEA or whoever man is behind me acting like we're real worried about the children's security, safety of the children. Where's the DARE program? I know more people dying of overdoses than COVID-19. You guys are doing work, maybe not you guys, but it seems like the school system's doing nothing to prevent drugs in the schools. Every parent I talk to, I own a business, I repair vehicles. Every parent I talk to complains about the drugs in the school. Why can't we stop that? Instead of putting so much energy into these. I feel like if we use our resources for other better, safer things for the children, maybe our kids would live longer. Maybe they wouldn't be in the situation they're in when they get 18, 19, 20 years old with a needle in their arm in a ditch somewhere. I mean, this is serious stuff, and we're worried about a mask. Like my children, my daughter's 10 years old. 10 years old, every woman in here knows where you start going at 10, 11 years old. She's got acne on her face.
Yeah.
She wears a mask all day. 7-hour school day, okay. But then I sit 25 minutes on a car ride line because we can't figure out the car ride line situation either. I called Billy Parker. He didn't return that call. So now you're asking not 7 hours. We got to drop our kid off at 7:15. Now we're 8 hours. Every teacher, the principal I asked, no, they get 3 mask breaks. That's pretty much what you guys tell them. That's written knowledge, I guess, for every teacher to say we get 3 mask breaks. Is that really doing it? I got a 10-year-old daughter coming home with acne around her face. I got a 17-year-old daughter in the high school with acne on her face all summer. She's already been through her changes all summer. She didn't have no acne on her face. She's fighting breakouts every night now. What's that do for their morale? And that's a serious question. I'd like somebody to respond when I leave here. So that's all I have to say. And at this point, it's ridiculous. Where are the goalposts? Because I think they just keep extending. And I don't know whose job is to set them. If it's your all, it's the first time I've ever been here. If it's your all's job to set the goalposts, let's set them. Give parents something to go off of. Because right now, it's just like every parent that gives a crap about their kid in this county, I feel like, is looking for private options. Because this is a failure.
Yep.
Big time failure. There's no options in Georgetown. Georgetown and Lexington, we have nothing. And now is that because the city's restricting them on coding? I don't know. I question this all the time. Is Scott County getting money from the government for having kids in school? Billy Parker, does Scott County get money from the government for keeping the mask mandate?
No.
They don't?
No. Attendance has nothing to do with
Okay.
our funding during this.
I'm not attendance, I'm saying as far as the mask mandate.
Right, but that's my point, is the attendance, if you're trying to insinuate that masks.
I'm not insinuating, I'm asking. That's why I don't know. I'm like the last gentleman. I have
No,
no.
we get no additional funds.
No.
That's what I'm asking.
There are no
Okay.
additional
So
funds that come from having.
that's all I'm asking. I'm not insinuating anything.
We get money from the federal government, but,
For sure.
but there are no strings for masks tied to it.
And that's what I just want to know, just so it clears my head and I quit thinking that way. I'm a negative person, they tell me. I don't know. It's just, all this just seems like it keeps on snowballing. And I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old daughter about to go to college, and right now it's just the stuff they're facing, it's just not fair to them. It's not the childhood I grew up with. And that's all I have to say. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you for coming. Okay, that's all we have for board comments. And we appreciate folks coming and speaking to us. We really do value your opinions. We get lots of emails throughout the week. We get phone calls, text messages, what have you, talking about all kinds of different issues. So I do want to let folks know that that is something that we do take care of. We do try to return calls and emails to the best of our abilities. And we highly recommend everybody just reach out to us with any kind of comments and concerns. And we will do our best to get back with you. Item number 6 is discussion of mask requirements for Scott County schools. I do want to add in that this is a special called meeting. We had another meeting set for another evening, and we had to move it, and therefore this is considered a special called meeting. There is no decision that will be made tonight according to our agenda. On the agenda at this point on masks, we were here the last school board meeting, and we did have conversations as to what the board's thoughts were around the masks that everybody got to share. And I know that we've all received some emails and what have you, since that time. But I would like to just go ahead and open this up for discussion amongst our board members. Anybody who would like to speak? I can jump in if nobody's going to jump in first. One thing that we talked about at our last meeting, I would just like to maybe spark a conversation about or around. Some of us did mention that we know that the students ages 5 through 11 were able to get their vaccinations and that they were becoming readily available. I think it just occurred that week before our last board meeting. And some of us had voiced that we would like to wait to give those kids their time for their vaccinations to be finalized after a few weeks. And I know there was concerns about our staff as well getting their booster shot if they so chose. So I know that was a couple of conversations that we had. I could speak forthright and say that is one of my magic things. That's one of my goalposts. That's one of my things was I was waiting for and hoping for those children and those parents to be able to have that option to be able to get their children vaccinated, just as we did with our parents and our adults and our staff months beforehand. So
I feel like that, this is me personally, that I want to address something that I've heard multiple people say. I've gotten in an email in conversations that I have. I do my own research. So let me, and I'm a little on edge about that. You are right. You elected me to do a job, and I take it very seriously. And yes, I listen to the CDC, but I do my own research through a lot of other sources, local, state, and national. So, I'm sorry, but I felt like I needed, and I am pretty daggone sure, I won't speak for the other 4 members or Mr. Parker, but I'm pretty daggone sure that they do the same thing.
Thank you for adding that in, Joanne. I concur. Stephanie, would you like to add anything?
Well, I'll just echo what Joanna said, that we all do our own research. Pretty much, we speak to every doctor available, not just one, not just pediatricians, I had stitches taken out of my arm earlier today, and as the doctor was taking the stitches out, I asked his opinion, and, he shared with me that he thought we should wait until after we came back from school, maybe a few weeks to see, what the numbers did. We read everything, we research, and we take everything to heart. We read every email, we accept every call. Reach out to us. If you leave us a message, we will call you back to the best of our abilities. And so we hear everything. I sat here and I took notes during every comment. I will internalize them. We do hear you. I promise we do. We do research. We do our due diligence. We do take this job very seriously. And we might only have 2 meetings a month, but I promise we work every day. Every day. It's not something that we take very lightly.
Okay, thank you. Susan, would you like to jump in?
Well, I spoke at length at the last meeting and was relatively clear and thought I was clear that tonight we would be able to entertain a motion or potentially take action, and that it would be put on the agenda that way. And so I'm disappointed and disheartened that that's not an option tonight. And we'll continue to make those requests for every meeting we have from this point forward until we reach the end of this trail to allow this board to potentially take action on removing the mask mandate and making it optional. I would have made the motion at the last meeting and certainly would have made it tonight to make the mask mandate optional as when we return from the holiday break. But that's not an option for me tonight, so obviously I can't make it. That being said, I hear the arguments made for and against masks, and I have absolutely done my research and continue to. I've done the comparisons from the CDC incident reports from the districts that started the year without masks and the ones that started the year with masks, those that have since taken the mask mandate away. I've read very closely about the districts, Bourbon County being one of them, and Jessamine, who dropped the mask mandate and then made adjustments. For the record, Bourbon County dropped their mask mandate and canceled school because 13 students in the middle school had tested positive, 13 students. We're going to have a little intestinal fortitude and understanding when the masks come off, children are going to get sick, whether it's a stomach bug or the flu. Unless the board intends to wait until there is no more COVID or no more illness, when these masks come off, it's going to happen. But at the same time, when you look at those incident reports, the districts that had a mask mandate and the districts that didn't have a mask mandate moved with the same trends as the entire state on the incident report. I mean, it is clear as day that whether or not this school district has a mask mandate is not keeping their incident numbers lower. It just simply isn't. If you believe the numbers you're reading from the CDC in terms of daily incident rates by county. So it is what it is. But we've been through fall break, so we've allowed our families to go on vacations and come and bring the germs back to school. We've been through the Thanksgiving break and allowed them to come back. We've seen the bump when school started and then the dips. Those things have happened. I don't know what we're waiting for. I feel like we're moving the goalposts. And at this point, I think we're doing a disservice to this community by not being more intentional or thoughtful about making a decision. I'm disappointed about that, to be honest.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Well,
think, along with Susan, that I made myself pretty clear last time, but I think what I was hearing was a lot of folks would like to see some light out at the end of this tunnel. So where's the end of this thing gonna be? And I think, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but you have, so I think where we're at is somewhere, once everybody gets the opportunity to have their shots, if they so choose to have these shots,
They've had it.
then after that point, then that's when it'll be put on the agenda to have a vote on, to have them that choice then. So, I mean, that's kind of what I was hearing, that they would like to see some light at the end of the tunnel on how much longer they got to keep going. That's all I got.
Okay.
So, I have, as Diana spoke to, always felt like that there needed to be an opportunity for all of the children, the younger children, to get vaccinated. And we've reached that. That we're past that.
Yes.
I also everybody in our buildings are working very hard. And it seems like it is increasingly difficult. And when someone spoke tonight about how much time are our instructors spending saying, put your mask up, fix your mask, get your mask is down. So, and all of us have seen pictures of events that we have in our buildings where we have mask mandates, where there are no masks.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And that's hard for me. And so I don't know where the balance is there, but I feel like that, I don't know, I'm struggling. And where I am honestly right now is that we can't keep moving the goalpost. Or I'm not even sure that we've ever said, here's the
Never
goalpost.
set a goalpost.
Right.
There's never been.
Right, we've never, right,
Constant information, there's something.
right, we've never said, here's the rule, right, or here, we're gonna get to X. But we have always, I won't speak for anybody else, I have always felt like that I always wanted the opportunity for students to be able to for all students to have the opportunity to get the vaccine, for our faculty and staff to be able to get the booster, and that's passed. So I am of the mindset that come January, no more masks.
That's what, I mean, that's the conversation we had.
I thought we had that in
last
November, and
meeting.
that's why I'm so confused as to why we aren't able to take action on this tonight.
Well, I mean, that was the conversation we had at our last meeting.
Yes.
Was
Yes.
that when I mean, I feel like the appropriate thing to do would be, see what happens over Christmas break, but in reality, I feel like I fully know what is happening with the instructional time, because I was there last year. I know what it's like to say 500 times a day, your nose is showing, or fix your mask. It does, it is hard, it is instructional minutes. But I feel like we've had this discussion at our last meeting, and I thought that, it was decided that, we would, at our January meeting, that's when that vote would be taken.
And to be real honest, at our last meeting, I wasn't. I mean, just to be real honest, I wasn't.
You weren't. No, I know. And
I wasn't, right,
Sure,
I wasn't
sure.
there.
And I said that, I mean, I acknowledge that, I knew that, and I know tonight that not everybody's there. But we ought to be able to make a motion, even if it never even gets seconded, the opportunity to express or put it out there. And I think it's stifling maybe our voices somewhat in that regard. But it is what it is. So again, I'll make the request once more that at our next meeting, which is scheduled for January 6th, that it be on the agenda for possible action.
We already, I mean, we did that in November.
I thought we did, but I thought,
Yes, you did.
but I thought it was supposed to be in
Yes.
December too, so that's where my question
Yes.
was.
We, I mean, we, like, this is
So,
like
okay, so-
Groundhog Day, because we did this in.
I know, so that's a fait accompli. In the January 6th meeting, it is going to be on the agenda for possible action.
I mean, we did that in.
Yeah,
Yes, you
right,
did.
but I thought-
Yes,
but I-
yes.
but December, and it didn't
I
happen
will,
now,
I will
so-
tell the two of you, it takes three of us to make that happen.
I know.
I'm your third. So,
So you would also like it to be on the January 6th agenda?
I will
for
be your
possible action?
third.
And just to be clear, that did not happen between the last meeting and this meeting this evening. With this being a special called meeting, Susan, therefore we can't make a motion
I know.
tonight because
Well,
of
well,
that.
but-
So I just want to explain
but can I
that
get
and make that
clarification on
clear
that?
for everybody.
Because the special call meeting keeps getting brought up, but there are many items on this agenda that are allowed for action, and it's still a special call meeting. If this item had been put on the agenda as discussion of mask requirements for Scott County School with possible action, then we could very well have entertained a motion tonight, correct?
If that's what the board
That's
member
my-
wanted to do.
Exactly.
And we did not have that.
Exactly. It was not the superintendent nor the board chair's purview to put it on, or choice to put it on, and there were not 3 board members who supported that
Right,
action.
and there was not 3 board members
Right,
who asked
because
me to
that's-
put it on.
right,
I'm
that's
gonna make
what
that
it
clear.
takes.
Okay.
And so I will take some blame on that because I misunderstood our last meeting and our conversations that it was going to be at subsequent meetings. I thought we had agreed upon that at the last meeting. So that was my naivety coming into tonight, or coming into this agenda, that it wasn't on there. Because I thought we had agreed that it would be on at every meeting following
Yes,
November's
yes,
meeting.
yes.
So I'll blame myself because I thought we had already agreed on that. So I didn't seek approval to push that, you see what I'm saying? Because I thought we had already agreed upon that. So I'll take the blame for that. But yes, I agree with you. The board chair sets the agenda, superintendent can set the agenda, and 3 board members can request. So I think we've accomplished that right now, correct?
Yes.
You've got 3 board members who are asking to be on the agenda for possible action on January 6th.
Mhm. Okay. Would anybody like to add any more comments? Did we answer questions that came up to us while folks were speaking with us? I think we addressed the issues of, do we do our own research? I could tell you, I am on the phone with our superintendent quite often throughout a day, talking about multiple issues, not just masks, sir. We do talk about all the issues that we have in our schools that our children face, our administration does, our teachers do, our principals do. It is nonstop. I am very, very proud of what my school district continues to try to accomplish on every single day. And it is very, very daunting. And I will tell you that I feel that people do their best. Have we cured the drug problem here in Scott County? I don't think so.
There's no DARE program in the elementary school right now.
Is that true?
I don't know that there's research that supports that DARE's effective, whoever said that. So
I said, I remember it very clearly when I was in school.
I remember it as well. I'm not doubting that it doesn't exist. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that I don't know that research supports that it has an impact. That's all I want to.
Yeah, research could be debated on every topic today. Just throwing it out there. It all depends on where we're getting our research from on a lot of these topics. But just noted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about, so if I want to talk about something else related to COVID in the schools, do that now or in board comments?
Josh?
Board comments would be better.
Board comments.
Based on your agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I thought, but, okay.
Correct.
Do we have any other issues any board members would like to discuss? Okay, we are going to close topic, and we will move on to number 7. Number 7, consent agenda items 7A through J.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, fiscal year 2021 financial audit report completed by Barnes Denning. Thank you.
my understanding that you all receive these items at a time. So, my name is Daniel DeMonte, and I am an insurance manager with Lawrence Denning, and I'm here to report some highlights of the financial audit. So you should have a copy of the actual audited financial statements in front of you. I'm going to mainly focus on the presentation that touch on the highlights. So we are pleased to serve the Scott County School Districts, and we hope to do so in years coming with the audited financial statements. In our engagement letter, we were engaged to complete an audit of the financial statements as of June 30th, 2021. With that, we're engaged to do a single audit over major federal programs. On the next page, you'll see required communications for auditor and management responsibility. Financial statements are the responsibility of the district's management. We as auditors perform our audit to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance, so we don't look at every transaction, we don't look at every invoice, every payroll, but we do a risk-based audit where we determine which areas are riskiest, we look at those areas with the audit, and we give an opinion on that. The internal controls are the responsibility of management. We do not perform an internal control audit. We do get an understanding of them to make sure that they're operating effectively within the district, but we do not provide any assurance over that. Our audit of the financial statements does not relieve you or management of your responsibilities, and there are other responsibilities that are spelled out in that engagement letter. The next page, we have the executive summary where we have the good news that we issued an unmodified or clean opinion on both the financial statements and the major federal program. We received excellent cooperation from Gina and her staff. The audit was 100% remote, so we exchanged documents over an encrypted website where we got our documentation and completed our audit procedures remotely, and they were great in providing those. No disagreements or difficulties encountered during the audit, and no consultations with other independent accountants. There were no new accounting policies adopted in the current year, and the significant accounting policies are noted in note 1 of the financial statements. Internal accounting estimates that are given to us by the district are the depreciable lives of capital assets. No internal control matters are reportable, and we are not aware of any matters related to fraud or legal acts that require communication. There are other written communications that you can review in the representation letter that was given to us. And there were no significant adjustments in the financial statements due to materiality levels, meaning the numbers that the district has are the same that are reported in this financial statements. So next I'll go over some graphs and just quickly kind of touch on some trends of the past years. So first we'll start with the statement of net position. District-wide, we see that assets and liabilities stayed relatively consistent, and then a decrease in the net position due to expenses exceeding revenues. The next page we have district-wide net position analysis, which shows us the different categories of the net position. So you have investment in capital assets, that's your buildings, vehicles, equipment. And then restricted includes that pension liability and the other post-employment benefit plan liability that is required to be reported on the district financial statements, and that's why those are negative. And then unassigned includes everything else. Revenue over expenses district-wide. You can see that revenue stayed pretty consistent, a little increase, and then there was some increases in expenses that were related to instructional expenses, student support services, school administration, and school transportation. Balance sheet trends for the general fund. You'll see that assets are a little bit lower due to a decrease in some cash. Liabilities stay relatively the same, and the fund balance had decreased as well due to expenses exceeding revenues in the current year. So revenues over expenses for the general fund, you can see that revenues and expenses have stayed pretty in line with each other over the past 5 years. with the past 2 years having the expenses exceeding the revenues, and there was a little bit of decrease in instructional costs out of the general fund, and that is a decrease in expenses there. Next page, we have some tax revenues out of the general fund by category. I won't go into too much detail there because they just kind of fluctuate year over year. Then we have some general fund revenues by source. So that top graph, we have taxes, and then state revenues that include the on-behalf payments and exclude the on-behalf payments from the state. So you can see the impact that has on the revenues in the financial statements. And then down below, we have earnings on investments as well as other revenues, which include things such as rental income, refunds from prior year expenses, and miscellaneous revenues. Last page I have here is revenue over expenses for the food service. I believe we discussed last year that 2020 dip in expenses looks a little odd, but that was due to the reallocation of the pension and OPEB liabilities between the food service fund and the rest of the funds within the district. So that kind of threw it out of whack, but you can see that in 2021 revenues and expenses were in line with each other for the fiscal year. So that's all I had, unless anyone has any questions on any of that or anything in the financial statements.
So, given that, where we are with SEEK funding, and that next year, right now at least, Billy, you can help me if I'm wrong here, but we're gonna be living on 18-19 numbers again next year for SEEK funding. And the legislature may look at some relief for growth districts in that. If that doesn't happen, when I got to the net position, district-wide net position, and saw the downtrend there for the first time in a number of years. And then I had a conversation with Gina today too, so I'm just curious, let's just say that happens not for 22-23, but then they tell us we have to live on that for 23-24 as well, and there's no relief for any growth districts. At what point do we, I mean, because we're dipping into contingency, and that's how we're living right now, so any thoughts on like how long we can live like that with the state continuing to force us to live on 18-19 SEEK funding? Or what that would do to our, let me just ask you this question, because you might be able to answer. So, what will this look like next year if we continue to live on 18-19 SEEK funding? Are our net positions just going to keep going down?
Potentially, because you also have to factor in that there's on the district-wide, so the net position that you referenced, there's non-cash items that are affecting that as well. So like the pension liability that is not really, you guys are paying into the pension plan and into that OPEB plan, but there's not this big liability that is in the name of the district. That's just for reporting purposes. So that is a factor as well. But I can't really say for sure. I don't want to.
Right. Yeah, I know. I know you really can't give an opinion.
Every year, as we have more students, and we're still living off the funding here,
Yeah,
it continues to compound and it continues to get worse.
Yeah.
They just keep getting further and further apart.
And the longer they go without fixing it, the harder it is for us
to get back.
And not to mention that there is the potential of them to adjust what the SEEK formula looks
Well,
like. And no way to do that without winners and losers unless they add something to it. And I don't know, I don't know what the appetite is for that.
In the middle of the year, they will adjust SEEK funding. Thank you.
Yeah, so I feel like I didn't answer
No,
your question.
no, you didn't. I just needed to say, I really wasn't.
That's a hard
expecting-
question.
Give us our magic ball.
Yeah. Well, that's great ball.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Number 9, approve emergency certification as listed in items 10A and 10B.
Motion for instance,
Have moved to approve emergency certifications as listed for 9A and 9B.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for that. Number 10, student achievement. Ms. Williams. And guest.
It is.
Can you see my frowny face? Because I'm making a frowny face.
So thank you guys for allowing me to come this evening. There are just a couple of things I want to talk to you guys about. The first thing that I want to start with is just we're getting to the end of the semester and wanted to give you just kind of how we're doing as it relates to our focus areas of accelerated learning, PLCs, culture, and climate. Specifically as it relates to observation trends, kind of what we're seeing with some of our formative data through Mastery Connect. We have been really proud of what we have been seeing in schools, in classrooms, and in PLCs. We started off the year with really just wanting to focus in on, are we seeing those learning goals and success criteria consistently in classrooms? And we have progressed to a point where we are consistently seeing those things referenced. When we're talking to kids, they're able to tell us what they are learning and how they are learning that. They're able to show us and justify their thought processes. We're seeing more opportunities that are being taken in classrooms for small group and partner talk. We would like to see that continue to increase and to continue to focus in on what are those highly effective engagement strategies that can be utilized across the board to make sure that we're helping our students be even more successful in the classrooms. The culture and climate, we're seeing a lot of just kindness and compassion in classrooms, which we have been really excited to see. Kids cheering each other on, helping each other out, teachers providing grace to students, but still maintaining those high expectations in classrooms, so we're really proud to see that. From a PLC standpoint, we really started off with just focusing in on, do PLCs have norms? And we have really progressed, and we are starting to see how teams are working together to not only pace and look at learning activities, but actually identify what those anchor strategies are going to be across grade levels, so that when they come back to the table, they're actually able to talk about how effective was that particular strategy. And we're hearing kids in classrooms note the strategy by name and explain what they're using, which has been very exciting. We want to continue on this track in the next semester to really focus in on deeper discussion of some of those anchor strategies and really looking at digging deeper into the data, just so that we can make sure that we're constantly making those data-informed decisions for our students. I also want to take this time to thank Board Member Duncan for participating with us on our CDIP, our Comprehensive District Improvement Planning process. That has been a great experience for everybody to be able to not only just look at what we're going to be doing for a year-long span, but how that progresses out for the next 2 years specifically, and looking at how we can be focused in on maintaining the same focus, just deeper, so it's not going to be constantly changing.
That was great work. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. So when we're looking at our formative data of Mastery Connect, the last time that I reported to you guys, we saw some science and social studies numbers in the low 70s, and we saw some math and English numbers in like the mid 70s. And so I'm really proud to be able to present that we are making consistent progress with that. So our science and social studies percentages as it relates to kids who are meeting or approaching mastery of the standards that are being input into that system by our teams is approaching 80%, which is awesome. And then our math and English is in the mid 80 percentages. So we're doing great work. We just need to continue that and really focus in on what we're doing with our kids, but we're very proud of that. I have with me a guest, and she is Sarah Markham, and she is a Spanish student at Great Crossing High School in Tia Belt's class. And if you notice on the agenda, about 3 items after this, you're going to be voting on the Global Biliteracy Seal. And I just wanted her to be able to take a moment to come in her way and explain her experience with that and why she thinks that's so important.
Good evening. As Ms. Lane said, my name is Neb Rockham. I'm a senior at Great Crossing High School. I'm in my 3rd year of Spanish, and recently the school has allowed us to take this test called the Seal of Biliteracy. As a non-native Spanish speaker, this was a big test for me and several other seniors, and we were given the opportunity to take it. And I believe 17 of us passed and received the seal. And because this is like such a great achievement to make, we were hoping to have a sticker put on our diploma to denote our great achievement. And in the future, we hope to have the seal written on our transcripts, so when we send it to colleges, they can also see that we have received the seal of biliteracy. In addition, the seal of biliteracy, it tests 4 subject areas: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So you have to get at least a 5 in each area, and it's graded on a scale of 1 to 9. So it's difficult, and if you receive it, it's just a great achievement, and I believe that we should all receive recognition for that. Thank you.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you for coming and speaking, very articulate, thank you.
And then to just end on a high note, Mr. Kim, I'll hand those to you, you can just pass them around. So again, we're rounding off the semester, so I just wanted to leave you guys with a little keepsake of all the great things that we have been doing in the district this semester, and this is just our examples of excellence. We alluded to this during our collab day, that we would be compiling those things throughout the year. And so this is just a highlight for you to see some of the great things that have been happening and that we anticipate will be even stronger for the next semester. Are there any questions?
So what does it take to get that seal on the diploma?
You have to get at least a 5 in each of the 4 areas, and if you get that, then you receive the seal of biliteracy in whatever language you're taking.
Right, but does the district have to do something to enact on that?
No.
Okay. I didn't know if we needed.
No, ma'am. So a lot of those things have already been approved at the school level from their SBDMs, and the schools have just had a collaborative effort of ensuring that they're on the same page related to that. And so what we would be asking for in the subsequent 3rd item down would be how the district recognizes that through the seal on the diploma, very similar to how we recognize our work-ready seal students.
Gotcha. Just wanted to make sure that if we can help.
Yes. Thank you for your information, but I'd also like to say thank you, Miosha, for everything that you've brought to our community here at Scott County. It's been absolutely invaluable, and you will be dearly missed, but we wish you the absolute best in your new endeavor.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and I have absolutely enjoyed my time here as principal and as assistant superintendent, and I know that we will find other ways to collaborate, because like I said to Stephanie Powers, and she has said to me, you can't quit me.
Watch out.
I certainly hope our paths cross.
Absolutely.
They certainly will.
Guys.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Number 11, approved 2022-2023 district professional learning plan.
Move. Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, approved Scott County Schools Comprehensive District Improvement Plan, CDIP, 2021 through 2024.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Before we do that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Discussion, I just want to make a quick comment. I was involved in this process, and I just
Okay.
want to compliment everyone who was involved. It was a very highly engaged group of people who were committed and thoughtful and made an effort to show up at the end of the day after I know was a long day, and it was special to be able to do it.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining them, Susan. Okay.
Sorry, now it's mixed up. I just-
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at it, I got both of these earmarked and I'm looking at it, okay. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, approve Scott County Schools Global Seal of Biliteracy. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, waive the first reading of Board Policy 09.422. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 15, approval of the revisions of Policy 09.422, bullying, cyberbullying, hazing, menacing, I'm sorry, this went off my page. Harassing, communications, and stalking. I'm sorry, it kind of lined up funny there.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 16, second reading and approval of revisions to policy 09.4341, alternative education.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 17, approve change to the 2021-2022 school calendar.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 18, calendar committee recommendation. Stephanie, you were on that committee. Would you like to speak to that?
If you'd like to, I sent you all the calendar. There was 2 calendars presented. There was clearly a front runner with the first choice. There were surveys sent out with the public, and then a backup survey sent out with staff, and the first calendar is a clear winner. That's the one that we would like to present to you.
Okay. Now these, from my understanding, we're going to go through 2 board meetings, correct? For review?
So review at this one and then approval at the next one.
Yes.
On the 6th.
On the 6th, and then we will be announcing the new calendar for those who are interested. That will be approved, or we'll vote on that on the 6th. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Is this later than usual? That's, okay, I thought that it fell off.
Number 19, adoption of the annual board meeting schedule for 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
I hope so, Lord.
Yeah, we don't want to meet next year.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 20, approve and recognize the establishment of the cross-country booster club for Great Crossing High School.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 21, approve non-resident contracts for school year 2022-2023.
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 22, approve dark fiber contract with Spectrum.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 23, approve to renew athletic trainer contract for 2022-2023 school year.
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 24, approve contract for custodial services contract for Scott County Schools. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
I got a little discussion on that.
Okay.
I got your numbers, and I appreciate the information. I had a thought. Was the message that park would be sending, reaching outside. I realize that we're trying to help our custodians that we have now by being able to get some more folks to help them out. And I realize that they're doing way more than what they've ever had to do before. So they do need some extra help. Not including that they're shorthanded to start with. I can't help but to keep thinking that maybe there would be a better way to use a little bit of that money. And I guess my thought, to quit beating around the bush, is perhaps look at it as a bit of a raise to try to get more people to fill in the 13 spots. I guess is what I was thinking. It sends two messages, perhaps you get more help. The second part of that would be, it thanks them for all the extra effort that they put into it, not that everybody else hadn't, but they're the ones that so short, it seems like. And, well, I mean, I guess, just to be quite frank about it, if I was sitting in a position and you're gonna hire somebody else to come in, that don't send a good message to me for staying. Now, that's just where I'm thinking about that is. Well, what have I been working so hard and doing all this extra that everybody agrees to, and now you're gonna bring in somebody else? Not to take my spot, I don't mean it that way, but I'm not getting any kind of a good feeling from it, or a good vibe, or not to mention nothing. I mean, I've thought about that for the last day or two since I got the numbers. And, I just don't feel real good about that.
This is not up one, not very wrong, down the other, but just something to put into your thought process. This contract, if approved, does allow the district to cancel at any time with 30 days notice. So, if the board's pleasure were to pursue some kind of pay increase incentive for actual staff, and wanted to use it to help fill the gap while I built numbers, that option is available. We did it, Dwayne and I intentionally built in a very easy, without cause, cancellation at any time.
Oh, yeah.
30 days notice there, so that option is available if you wanted to kind of blend the two. I just want you to have
And just so you know, our custodians want this, they need help. They're working 12-hour days every single day. They don't want the overtime. They want a break. And our teachers are doing it as well. Our teachers are custodians. Other classified folks in the building are pitching in. I mean, they're overwhelmed, guys. We gotta do something. And hey, give them a raise. I'm okay with that too, but you're running the same headaches that you're doing, trying to give everybody a raise.
And if numbers ever increase, you're able to pop out in pretty short notice here on this contract.
Yeah, I mean, the longest we even talked about working with them in the start was that, we skimmed through May to start with.
Right.
But then we went ahead and just did 30-day
A
only.
little extra flexibility there built in, and they took it.
We're begging and anybody if they show up and try, we're trying to get them in and get them going.
And there's no non-compete clause in this, right? So that, our employees can go there, for
Well,
example, they can come here.
I don't know what their employees have with agreement with them.
True, I didn't think about that.
Okay,
Good point.
from our side, no, it's not anything built into there. That's, what you're talking about, something that's between them
And their current
and their current employer. And they may or may not, I don't know.
How long have we had these vacancies?
Months. So, it's
At this
it's
time
second and
ever?
third shift. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the toughest time to, nobody, that's how any company right now is struggling with those type of hours, those type of shifts. It's tough on families.
We're struggling with,
Yeah,
six AM to 3.
Right, I mean, everybody's struggling with the same thing. We just found this company that has been able to do it for 18 straight months now at Jessamine, where other ones that I looked at have been kind of so-so. So I don't know what kind of magic they've got, but it's not gonna cost us any more than what we're currently trying to do with our current folks, so.
And that was the one thing, Mr. Kidwell, that you mentioned, you said about, taking this money and doing something different with it, but this money actually costs less doing it this way than the other.
We're not even spending what we think.
Honestly, we didn't know that that's how it would come out when we started down this path. It just so happened that it did. And again, we've reiterated from the beginning, this is a stopgap measure. It's not something we're looking to do for long term. It's just to get us through this.
And it's not like we wouldn't hire people who show up at the door.
Right.
Even with this, that
Correct.
people show up at our door and want to work for Scott County Schools,
Sign them up. So, yeah.
how quick can you
I
start?
think you just gotta have a little more incentive to get them to come to your door. And I guess that's the bottom line of where I'm going with that.
Yeah, there's
And
3 or 4.
obviously, you don't have that incentive because of these 13 vacancies that we haven't been able to fill for months and months and months and months. Months, maybe a year or better, you know, I don't
Maybe
know.
1 or 2 of them,
Yeah, so,
But to be clear, we're not the only, it isn't just Scott County Schools that doesn't have, that has this issue. It's, I mean, you know, we spent a lot of time talking about,
Mhm.
looking at, salary considerations. And there are districts.
oh yeah, we spoke about it not too long ago.
Right, right. They've made changes and they're still not seeing gains, so,
Yeah, I mean, Jessamyn's been doing it for 18 months with this group, and they still are using 10 to 12. You know, they've never really still been able to fill it with anybody that they are now.
So they're still, and
Oh,
they've
they're still
used them
using
for
it.
how long, you said?
18 months.
Yeah.
So they started, you know, whatever.
And one of the things, and I talked about this today too, is that in talking to Jessamine County, does Jessamine County call and say, hey, we need 10, and they send them 2? But that's not the case,
No,
from
that's
what I
not
understand.
the
We need 10,
They're-
they
they-
send them 10.
So he's easily, not easily, but they're covering all the known absences, you know, like, so we don't have anybody in this position, haven't had anybody in this position for a while. They cover that almost 100%. And they cover most of their sub situations too, where like a random person just shows up sick that day, doesn't need a full-time field just that day. They're also being able to cover those most of the time. And that's where they're not as 100%. But they are being effective most of the time in covering those sub, just random family emergency or whatever type of situation, so.
So, and so they found whatever the niche is to be.
They've got 2 or 3 things that we can't do. You know, they can pay quicker. There's a, the high school diploma GED barrier that we have that they don't. So there's 2 or 3 barriers that they don't have that we don't have a choice on. Is one issue.
So is that kind of what you're, Kevin, is that you're thinking that, what are they doing that we couldn't do on our own? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
But we have, because of
I don't think the GED or the high school diploma is the issue. I think it's because you get more money if you stand at Walmart than you do if you come work for Scott County Schools as a custodian.
I'd say, yeah, it's a pay issue too. They could get paid more. They work
I
hard.
mean, that's just the bottom line of it. There's no incentive for that.
And we've talked about this, we've talked about it,
And I'm not saying that you can fix any of that tonight. That's just, I'm just pitching that on the table.
They are part of that, 50% rate that you've already approved. They're appreciative of that, but, just like anything else.
So just to kind of reiterate, this right now, we're looking at it through May, number 1. Number 2, it's a 30-day if we decide that we want to terminate the contract, so we have that going for us as well. And you've talked to our staff, and they're of the understanding, and they
The only thing
understand
they're
our
worried
jobs
about
aren't
is
in jeopardy.
The only thing that's the only thing they're worried about is we're getting replaced.
Right.
And as soon as I was able to kind of dispel that, then I think everybody's like, oh, bring them on, so. and-
we're not outsourcing our custodial services.
No.
That's,
We're
I
filling
think
gaps.
that's completely different than what we're doing.
Right.
It sounds, it's more of a temp service.
Right,
so-
yeah,
Kinda, yeah.
that's temp service.
Yeah.
And this is a contracted service, so we can use our ESSER monies for that, not our general fund. We still have our general fund to pay the people if we were to find them and hire them. And this is not reoccurring money. ESSER is not reoccurring money, so it's a one-time expense.
And this is something that would occur
Hopefully.
relatively soon.
Yeah, if you all say yes in January, I'm wrong.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? I do have a motion and a second. All in favor? Those opposed? The motion carries. Number 25, approved revised MOA between Georgetown College and Scott County Schools.
And I motion that part. Everyone happy about it?
No,
Second?
no, you may not.
Motion. Second. Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 26, approve MOU among Bluegrass Workforce Innovation Board, JAG Kentucky, and Phoenix Horizon Community for the Kentucky Employees Youth in School Initiative with revisions recommended by board attorney.
Which they all agreed to, because that's already been worked through, the JAG folks have already said cool,
Okay.
so they're all in there.
Okay.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 27, surplus items.
Move. Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 28, financial statement.
Yes, I'm here to share with you the November financial statements. Our beginning balance was 9.1 million. We had receipts of 6.8 million, expenses of 8.7 million, leaving our ending cash balance at $7.2 million. Does anyone have questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Number 29, approve current bills.
Move. Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 30, superintendent's report.
All right. So for superintendent's report, I've got a few things to share. So under strategic leadership, we have now completed the second meeting with Scott County United in which we've worked on economic development, strategic planning. We split up into groups and really spoke to various aspects, quality of life being one, infrastructure another. I was with the workforce group, and Dr. Allen, we were in that same group together, and that's been it's been good to get to sit at the table with some of those folks to kind of get on the same page. For number 2, instructional leadership site visits. You know, Miosha talked quite a bit about it, and we kind of found our stride maybe about halfway through with how we wanted to work site visits, and we had a really great system with regard to site visits and how those went. It was interesting to see as we went through that time the overall feel from folks in schools and how that changed. Because with site visits, we were seeing that they were starting to see data and they were starting to see improvements, and principals were really excited, and you could see that they were excited as a reflection of what their teachers were seeing as well. Cultural leadership, we had the group that we were working through with Undivided. We had an optional dinner for that at ECS after it was completed for everybody to get a chance to meet each other face to face, because it had been a situation where we completed the entire community process by Zoom virtually, so it was nice to get a chance to do that face to face. Then community partnership and networking opportunity at this last month's DLT. It was Miosha and Renee really set that up, and we had an opportunity for our principals to get together with our with businesses from our local community, other higher ed groups. I think we had 4-H was there. We had a variety of community partners, and it was interesting because we got to make some connections that didn't already exist. Maybe they had existed with one school, but they hadn't necessarily been with another school. So they got an opportunity to make some connections. I believe somebody in the room doubled the donation that they got. So that was great to see. Human resources leadership. Classified Grow Your Own, Dana Stefanik had the great idea of leading that, and we've had the first meeting for that, and he's got another one upcoming, and that's just been on trying to help classified folks that are in positions that want to maybe do something a little bit different. What day was it? Lord, my days are mixing up. A couple days ago, Superintendents and Presidents Summit through Bluegrass Tomorrow and the Bluegrass Higher Education Consortium. Say that 3 times fast. So we had a local college and university presidents that were present, and local superintendents. I put it under human resources leadership because the conversation went towards just staffing. You know, we're talking about staffing with other things. We talked about staffing with regard to that because some of the universities were trying to put their hand on the pulse of just what the situation looked like. And so it was interesting to hear the different examples that superintendents gave. And I gave some comparative information from years past to now that really, I think, helped open some eyes there. Managerial leadership, we just talked about the custodial contract. We emphasized the fact that that's not something we plan to do for the long term, but that is a stopgap measure, and it's an innovative solution to the situation that we have at hand. Again, it's not just our custodial crew that I believe will be pleased with the impact of this. I also believe that our staff and our schools will be pleased with this, because I understand from what I'm hearing from them, the grumblings for everything extra that they're having to do with regard to that as well. Inclement weather preparation, we've looked at refining that system a little bit, and just taking the fact that now with Dr. Hub no longer part of that process, just revamping it a little bit, and looks like Dwayne's going to help a little bit with that, and maybe take a piece of Josh's route from him, so that'll definitely help out. Number 6, collaborative leadership. So Monday I had the panel discussion with the local chamber, building our workforce pipeline, and that seemed to go really well. I can shoot you all a link for that if you wanted to see it, but that seemed to go really well. Great opportunity for us to connect with businesses, and again, we tried to stress the fact that we want to be a partner with them, and if they've got ideas beyond what we are offering, to throw it out there. Also in collaborative leadership, BGO, who we approved just recently for our athletic training contract. Not all districts have that kind of setup, and Franklin County is one of those that does not, and so I was able to put their school leadership in contact with BGO just to talk through kind of what that looks like and what advantages they might have to something like that, knowing that they'd still need to bid that out, but just to kind of get a feel for the kinds of things the advantages that we see from that. Under Standard 7, influential leadership, me and Mrs. Williams had a meeting with EKU's college president, McFadden, to talk about dual credit, and they wanted to come to the table to talk about what they were looking at with dual credit, what their thoughts were on how it should look. They wanted to hear our thoughts on what worked and didn't work. So that was pretty beneficial. And then last but not least, under influential leadership, CKEC discussions, and really that's been widespread. Discussions about the Math Achievement Fund grant and the Read to Achieve grant. Paul Kruger's been having conversations with me a lot about those, because they have changed the scope of those grants, and they've made them pretty much to where school districts aren't even considering them. Just as an example, the Math Achievement Fund grant had enough money to fund 75 schools, and they funded 13, because that many people did not apply, because it was created in such a way that it created more cost for anybody to consider it than, there just wasn't any advantage to it. As such, they have finally, they've taken that information, and they are, I think, retooling what the grant application looks like for RTA. So they've extended the deadline, and they've reconsidered what they were doing with it, because it was framed more like that Math Achievement Fund grant. Well, now KDE has restructured it a little bit to where people might actually consider using it. So again, influential, because that's been one that I've just been pushing, because not every superintendent has an elementary background, so I can definitely speak to the importance of these grants for our schools and for our school system, because if we don't have those grants otherwise, what are we going to do? I do know our principals have, they're really eager to know, hey, is there anything that the district might consider as far as closing that gap for us in the short term? So again, that's another reason I just kind of wanted to bring that up. And then last but not least, just don't forget tomorrow morning breakfast, 8 to 10 o'clock in this room right here, if you all have time and would be willing. That's it. That's my superintendent's report.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Number 31, board comments. Stephanie, would you like to start us out?
Sure. You beat me to it, but I was just going to echo everything you said about Ms. Williams. I'm still in denial. My heart is broken. So sad. But honestly, best of luck in your future. You're not quitting me, so don't think you're going to forget about me. But we will miss you. So, holiday and make sure this year, especially for New Year's, eat your black eyed peas and all your other good luck charms, whatever you have to do, so that 2022 is a fantastic year. And thank you everyone to all you've done this year. Just, you know, everything that everyone's done to carry us through this difficult time. And know that we see everything, we hear everything, and we love you and appreciate you, and thank you for everything that you all have done.
Wonderful, thank you. Susan?
Yeah, I obviously want to say the same Godspeed, and like I said, I hope our paths cross again. Definitely. I have a couple of questions, actually. One is, when do high schoolers and eighth grade, and I'm looking this way, but I'm probably looking this way, when do the high schoolers/eighth graders schedule classes from 22, 23?
That'll be happening as soon as they get back.
Okay, I knew it typically was January, I just didn't know with all that this transpired in the last stretch, okay. So in January.
They are still.
And on that note, is there any chance that me or the board as a whole could see the course catalog and the materials, the schedule sheets and any planning materials that the eighth graders and the high schoolers are getting? We could see it as well. I'd just like to see what they're working with and what their course options are going into the next school year, if that's possible, or any other information they may be getting to help them to plan. I just kind of want to be able to speak intelligently about it and understand what they're seeing through their eyes, if that's possible. I don't know, sometime in January, if that's possible. And then, Mr. Parker, could you talk to us a little bit about where we are with Scott County High School, the construction?
So, we've got a couple of hoops to jump through with the Corps of Engineer, so we're still kind of, yes ma'am.
I knew we were kind of holding
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
we've got half of that resolved, but where they are, they're still, I mean, we can't move forward with the one without the other, so we're still just kind of.
It's still a function of that personnel shift, is that what we're referring to there, where we had the personnel shift? So we kind of had to start over again?
The personnel shift with so we had the person that was our point person for that,
right.
and then they ended up taking some sort of leave of some sort, and then we were shifted to a different person. So
Okay.
yeah, that's just delayed some of the
We had
decisions.
talked about it several.
Yep.
meetings, and I just
Yep.
wanted to get an idea.
Yep.
All right, and then the next question I have, again, I probably should shift back to space, but about valedictorian, at what point do our students become aware that that is an option for them? And since we have instituted the newer policy where there's a singular valedictorian, I'm looking around the room because I'm not sure whose eyes I should be on really, that there's a singular valedictorian at school. Is this something they're learning about as they begin scheduling for freshman year, the first week of freshman classes? Or is it something they get annually? I mean, when is that happening, or is it, I guess? I don't know where.
I'm happy to
I'm
respond to
asking,
that.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, that is part of the scheduling conversations, but that is also, like he said, is built into those advisory times with card time and nest time.
Okay.
Is starting that conversation early with freshmen so that they understand
Right.
the importance of their credits and how it impacts some of those honors and awards that they
Okay.
can.
I just didn't know if there was any sort of documentation that went along with that for parents to see, for these younger, these eighth graders as they're beginning to recognize what that would look like and what's going on with that.
I don't know what that looks like from the eighth grade standpoint, but I do know that that's happening at the freshman level, but that's something that could certainly, we could.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to suggest how it should be, I just was curious to know what that process looks like.
Yeah.
In terms of informing students. Okay, all right. That's all I have, other than Merry Christmas and.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Joanna?
Thank you, Neosha. Principal and Neosha Principal Office, we appreciate it very much. Just thank you for everything you guys have done, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Okay. All right. Kevin?
I guess I'd first like to say congratulations to our superintendent, Mr. Billy Parker, for his award.
Oh, thank you.
I was unable to attend to slap him on the back or
You missed him.
wherever else. I wasn't there to be able to razz him any, so Now I get my chance.
Your text message made more sense after I got there than it did when, yeah.
The light came on, didn't it?
Okay.
What's wrong with you?
I was stuck in Louisville at a conference, so I sent a text out, said, y'all gotta let me know when the deed is done so that I can acknowledge it.
Yeah, I texted you.
Yeah.
I'll have to give him a hard time.
And that video of Molly was precious. It is.
Oh, my goodness
The
gracious.
look on her face as you started to learn, the pieces were coming together, and she's looking at you, and she's waiting, she's like, wait for it, it was so cute.
You did a good job. I want to thank you all for the gift and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, all that good stuff. And best wishes to you, Miss Venus. And that's all I got.
All right, wonderful. I just wanted to throw in that I've got to do a couple of fun things this month, which just always warms my heart. It kind of reminds me of what we're doing here with the school board, I guess I should say. I know what we do every day because I do it every day, all day, it seems. But it really helps with the connection with being able to get into schools and seeing kids and seeing some of the joy and seeing what they're doing. But not only that, but also the staff. I got to participate over at Scott County High School. Ms. Gaypart had created a little cart with little thank you, little snacks early in the morning, and her and I knocked on doors and walked in and gave everybody a little snack and said thank you and Merry Christmas, and it was really neat. It was really a lot of fun, and I just took a lot of joy out of it, and I got to see her in action, which is always really cool because we just have some really wonderful people. So, and then the second one that I got to go to was it last week? I think the time flies. Was over at Garth. And
Sorry.
and that was just wonderful. Renee called me in the morning and reminded me, and I ran over there, and it was just the coolest little thing. It was a Charlie Brown tree, and the fire department was there to, put the ball at the top of the tree. And I was really hoping that thing would kind of tilt over and give us a real big effect, but of course, and then got to see, I believe it was a kindergarten class, go outside and hold hands and sing around the Charlie Brown tree. So it was just, the kids really enjoyed it. It was just really cute, and it just really just made my day. So I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you for everything that everybody does. A lot of things have gone into the school year, and we are very, very appreciative. And I want to say thank you, and happy holiday, and happy 2022. So thank you, everybody. Okay. We have a couple more things, guys. Number 32, move to closed session pursuant to KRS 61810, Pren 1, Pren F, to discuss student disciplinary matter.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We are adjourned for a moment. Board meeting.
Move to reconvene.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Move to approve the expulsion of middle school student for 1 year, effective 12/16/21 to 12/15/22, pursuant to information and evidence presented in closed session, with educational services arranged by the superintendent. To note for record, full calendar year is due to egregiousness of evidence and information presented in closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 35,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
We need to get you just like an auction panel with move to adjourn on.
That's fine.